Aishwarya and respected Professor Dr. Abhimanyu Kumar, uh, the co-chairperson Dr. Benigol, Vaidya Jayandiya Pujariji, Dr. V.G. Uday Kumar, Dr. Shalini Rai, and all the distinguished guests and listeners of this particular, Ayurveda Summit. My job has been, has been shortened much with the very detailed explanation of Vaidya Jayandiya Pujariji, in detail that he has, elaborated the present CCIM BOG, Board of Governors, what we have done over the past 1 or 2 years on the Ayurveda education in the country in particular. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. So, so there isn't much more to say regarding the conventional education thing that is happening now. And now the National Commission for Indian Systems of Medicine is almost will be in place soon. So I think the next commission will have it will be easier for them to carry out what we have done the past 1 year on particularly on minimum standard that curriculum as well as syllabus restructuring that is happening, that is going on now. And currently, as JNG Pujariji said, it was a huge process. It was so many brainstorming sessions, a very hard work for the past 1.5 years by the CCIM, entire CCIM, the committee, as well as headed by a very dynamic chairman that we have. That is the most fortunate part that we have. It's not. I'm not just saying for the sake of praising anyone or like it, but it's a fact. A visionary only can lead a system to its to its full gamut, and or to have a, a person like JNG, or we could implement it very effectively, practically in all the colleges in India. It is not only Ayurveda but also Siddha, Unani, as well as Sovaripa is also happening simultaneously. So after we had all these brainstorming sessions of how to redefine the curriculum, because the fundamental question why all these things happened, every people used to ask, every now and then you have a syllabus restructuring, you have a curriculum restructuring, why it is having. So there was a detailed discussions on all these things. And also uh, it was very it was told to the CCIM by the policy policy bodies, policy making bodies in the country, like Niti Aayog and everyone, that the flaws or the problems or the which are being faced by the Ayurveda education system or Ayush education system. So this is where we went into to analyze the all the previous curriculum and syllabus, and where are the flaws and why it is happening, why there is a discontent in the country regarding Ayurveda education in particular. As Jainji rightly said, we had an elaborate, even a questionnaire is being sent to the students. Not only that, I don't know whether he said in Bangalore, I think 2 or 3 years back, we had a huge brainstorming meeting of all the principals and the management, a person from management as well in Bangalore, to discuss regarding the whole program, the process. So this was a huge exercise which has been carried out by the BOGCCAM, and then we had a detailed, we had recruited, or rather we had the opportunity to get the very good advice from many stalwarts of Ayurveda educationists, or no, I mean the medical educationists, particularly from, though they are from other, two or three are from other systems of medicine, other system of medicine like Dr. Payal Benzal, Dr. Dharmala Regi, and all such people who had also contributed to the restructuring of the education in um, allopathy system as well. But at the same time, they are ardent Ayurveda, Ayurveda lovers as well. So they could understand the space that we are in, that which we are holding, and they were able to integrate a lot with our concepts, what we want the curriculum and the syllabus to be. So there was absolutely no contradictions when we had discussions with them as well, because they could understand the possibilities, the extent which the curriculum and syllabus should be restructured. So that was a very good, a lot of good, very effective brainstorming sessions. Then we formulated this the redefined the curriculum a lot, as our honorable chairman said. It has been now sent to the ministry for notification, which will be in effect very soon. Similarly, this is happening, the syllabus restructuring is also happening simultaneously, with Sanskritam being given a lot of importance, as he has already said, but still I want to say, see, when we, if whether one agrees or not, Sanskritam is the language of Ayurveda. I used to say, if you're going to China, you have to learn Chinese language to learn traditional Chinese medicine. You go to Russia, you learn Russian. You go to France, you learn French. You go to Germany, you study modern medicine in German language. You go to any Spain, you learn modern medicine or allopathy in Spanish language. So why only Ayurveda is not taught in that way? See, for example, if you want a classical Unani system to be practiced in the country, or for the students to understand, Urdu is mandatory. Urdu is the language in which Unani has been written. Similarly, Siddha, if you don't know Tamil, that too very good Tamil, I would say even Sen Tamil, because some of the classical texts of Siddha Vaidya is written in Sen Tamil, it is called. It is quite hard. It is not the usual Tamil that we hear. If you don't know that, you will not be able to understand the Siddha system of medicine. Similarly, Ayurveda, if you want to have a proper Ayurveda education, if you want to have a great practitioners of Ayurveda, or the academicians of Ayurveda, there is no doubt that every student should be very well, be able to even converse in Ayurveda, in Sanskritam. That is why we introduced Vadadu Sanskritam in transitional curriculum from this year as a 15-day program in every Ayurveda college, which he had already said. That also was, we had taken, and we expect feedback from every college possible, every academicians and students. It is not final, but it can always be updated, or edited, or whatever it be done according to the feedback that we get. So why that? Why the a fresh student who is coming from a completely different background of modern science getting into Ayurveda, probably I would say, I have no inhibitions to say that most of these people come because they didn't get admission for allopathy, MBBS, or dental. Then, as somebody said, when I think it was a Brazilian friend of mine, when she had gone to a college in Kerala and asked, why did you come for Ayurveda? Can you believe the student saying that it was by chance? And she was quite surprised. And she said, I crossed oceans. I don't know whether she is listening to this, but she crossed oceans. For the past 25 years, she is coming to India to quench the thirst of Ayurveda, to learn a little bit of Ayurveda. And she was quite surprised to hear our own students of Ayurveda saying that it was by chance that I opted for Ayurveda. So it really, it was painful for her. She was crying when she was telling this. And well, we could understand this. So if this current system need to change, if the attitude towards Ayurveda need to change by the students, by who are opting for Ayurveda, I think we need to inculcate the feel of Ayurveda, the confidence in Ayurveda, the conviction in Ayurveda, the Shastra, how great the Shastra is, that we have to communicate to them. Well, so that is very important. As I think Professor Abhimanyu Kumarji rightly said on national education policy, we are going to see all these things happening once NEP is in force, NEP is implemented. That when you have, students learning all these Sanskritam as well as Ayurveda, which even the Ayurveda can be, it can start from the class 8, from the 8th standard itself as a skill. If a student is opting for Ayurveda, so it starts from the 8th and then it continues, and then that student can take up Ayurveda in his or her future studies. So all these are coming up. So having said this, Sanskritam is inevitable, or is the core, what you call the core of Ayurveda. So yeah, if you translations are always translations. So if you want to understand the pure Ayurveda, the authentic Ayurveda, the complete Ayurveda, you need to know Sanskritam fluently. So keeping that in mind, the present syllabus has been restructured, as Sanskritam has been given a lot of importance and hours have been added to it. And even today, I attended till afternoon on National Teachers Training Program, which is being conducted all over India. All the Sanskritam teachers are given training by the experts, and with the concepts the concept which has been formulated by BOG, and which is being hosted by RIV. And this is going on now for all the first year subjects. So already Kriya Sharira, Rachana Sharira, Samhita, Padartha Vijnana is almost getting over, and Sanskritam today it was happening, and the chairman of the Sanskritam was suggesting of even that committee which comprises of 10 members of Sanskritam was suggesting of a lab, Sanskritam laboratory. So you won't be wondering what is Sanskritam laboratory. So you will be watching soon what is happening. So as Jainji said, we are not going to differentiate between clinical and non-clinical anymore. Ayurveda doesn't have that compartmentalization of clinical and non-clinical at all. That has given a lot of problems to the Ayurveda education in particular, when this was divided into clinical and non-clinical subjects. How can Dasashastra and Vaishajyika Dasashastra be and Agaratantra be a non-clinical subject? I don't understand. Neither many of the professors of Agaratantra or Dasashastra do not understand how come they are non-clinical in that way. So we say even a Samhita student, Samhita Adhyayana student from the very first year will be attending the clinics from the very first year. So this is going to happen. This is happening this is what we have put forward in our the curriculum, that there will not be a differentiation between clinical and non-clinical at all, and the Sanskritam being given a lot of leverage, and which will form the basis of this. And transitional curriculum, we have introduced even Vadadu Sanskritam. By the end of 15 days of transitional curriculum study for the first year, fresh entrant into Ayurveda, he or she will, at the end of the study of the transitional curriculum of 15 days, he or she should be equipped. He or he should feel proud of having come to the study of Ayurveda. He or she should be convinced of her or his conviction that I have come to learn the greatest of Shastras in the world. This is the Shastra, this is my Purva Janma Sukrita, that I have come into this, for the learning of Ayurveda. That attitude, now it should be created. So this rush, we can only suggest, we as policy makers, as regulators, we can suggest these things, but ultimately the people to implement are the colleges, the faculties of the colleges, if it is private, the managements. So don't take any shortcuts anymore. You need to act. because CCIM BOG has been very, very strict on this particular aspect of making sure, like our Honorable Prime Minister says of Swachh Bharata, we say Swachh Ayurveda as well, or Swachh Ayush systems. So that has already started. We are already, as you would have seen, the results of so many results of what the CCIM BOG has taken up of cleansing Ayurveda educational system. It has already started, and it is giving results as well. We can it is very evident to, and it is very heartening to see that many colleges are asking for full-time teachers, even regular teachers as well. So and we can see, we are already seeing that. So it is a very good sign that this is happening in India, that the whole system, Ayurveda system, is getting cleansed. Not only Ayurveda, I would say Siddha, Unani, Sovarippa as well. It is getting cleansed, and we are introducing, the apt syllabus and curriculum, which is ideal for an Ayurveda education in particular. And now it is up to the managements and the government, whether it is government or private, the faculties, everyone, to enact, to make sure that this is implemented in its then only you have what is called a core competence. We need to have graduates of Ayurveda who are capable of handling even any dreaded disease, say even COVID-19. Why it was imagine all these 10 months or 12 months waiting for the vaccine to come in. The role of Ayurveda or Ayush systems in this, apart from handling preventive measures or promotive measures, where were we as Ayurvedic people in the management of infectious diseases as well, when we very well know that it could be possible in Ayush systems as well. So to have that confidence in the students, to have the confidence of the people at large, mainstreaming of Ayurveda education, mainstreaming of Ayurveda in particular, so that it reaches to the people at large, the public at large, at the grassroots. It should, like the traditional Chinese medicine is there in every citizen in that country. Similarly, Ayurveda or Ayurveda, it should be there. A person or a citizen of our country should look for or ask for for Ayurveda, even for infectious diseases, or not only for chronic diseases, but for even for acute conditions. So for that, we need to have a very good teaching academic system, whereby the graduates who are coming out of that will have the full confidence to treat in with Ayurveda, complete Ayurveda, 100% Ayurveda, and not a mixopathy, not those who are having inferiority complex after you graduate. You have an inferiority complex. Oh, I studied Ayurveda. Now what can I do? I practice modern, even not even modern medicine. I would say mixopathy. It should not happen. That these days are over. These days are over. We want a system which is complete Ayurveda, pure Ayurveda, authentic Ayurveda, to be studied completely, to be studied in all the colleges in India, so that we will have great graduates, blessed souls, blessed physicians, great Vaidyas, who come out and deliver. Because ultimately the delivery or deliverance of the system that you learned matters a lot. So that person, a student, a graduate or postgraduate, should be able to practice complete Ayurveda and spread the message. Then only Adhiti, Bodham, Acharanam and Pracharana happens. Achinodihi Shastrartha Ajare Sthapayatyadi Swayam Acharade Desmat Tasmad Acharya Uchyade. That Acharya should rise to that level of the Guru. Yes, I understood from Gurukula to Kula Guru, whatever it is. The time will tell. But that Guru should rise to the level of a real Guru. I love that sloka which has been taught to me by T.S. Krishna Kumar. It's a beautiful sloka from Dakshinamurti sloka. Chitram Vadadaror Mule, Vruddha Shishya Guror Yuva, Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam, Shishyastu Chinna Samshaya. What a beautiful, great sloka from Dakshinamurti Sotra that it is. That it says, Chitram Badadar Mule, under the banyan tree, there sits Vriddha Shishya Guru Yuva. The Shishyas, the students are aged people or old people. Gurostu Maunam Shishastu Chinas. Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam. Guru is a young person. Gurostu Maunam Vyakhyanam. Guru is not uttering even one word. Complete silence in meditation. Shishyastu Chinna Samshaya. Shishyas, the students or the disciples or the seekers of the Shastra don't have any doubt. No doubt. That means what a great sloka. In silence, in utter silence, in complete silence. It is not a philosophical sloka I'm saying, but this should be the aim of an acharya. That in complete silence, even in complete silence, the deliverance, the wisdom transference from a guru to the shishya happens. From a guru to the shishya happens even in complete silence. Can you imagine the way that the wisdom transference used to happen in this great country? Great country. And all the participants who are listening from abroad are also very curious to see how India takes this up, like yoga, which has been internationalized so very well. How the Ayurveda also takes a flight. If for that to happen, we need to clean up our own house. We need to have our house in order, so that when the house is in order, when in this country we have the system in place in its most pure classical form, then only this goes abroad. Then only it should go, it should traverse, it should, travel or cross the borders of Bharata to the Western countries, like how it happened before also. We could see from the, age-old Takshashila and all, if you look at the historical perspective also, how Ayurveda concepts got translated into Persian, to Arabic, to Greek, to then to Latin, to European medical systems. So people are knowing now with the digital age, people are aware that the mother of most of these medical systems, it is Ayurveda. So it is for us to deliver. It is for us to see to that this happens, that the pure Ayurveda traverses the borders of Bharata. So I'm optimistic. I'm sure this is happening in Bharata, and I expect all the students who are listening to this, as well as the teachers, the acharyas, the great learned persons who are to make sure that we do it together, that we take this Shastra, in its full capacity, and in its full, in the fullest form, and then let it let it go beyond the borders of Bharata in its pure form. Dhanyavad. Thank you so much for inviting me for this great function, and it is gorgeous to see that this CISA, which is doing a wonderful work in this regard to make sure that Ayurveda gets is in the limelight of many foreign countries. I understand that nearly 60 countries are participating in this great event, and I'm sure this will reach. It is already there in many countries. People are looking into it. Even during this COVID-19, I was told I got so many calls from other countries as well. We look forward to Ayurveda for remedies. So, let us let us make sure that this happens. And once again, thank you. Dhanyavad. Vande Mataram. Namaste.